All right. Good morning. We've had a rocky start this morning, so I'm going to try again. I have made a thing, and I'm Cadence Kidwell, proprietress here at Fuzzy Goat in downtown Thomasville, Georgia. And you can see all the things that I'm talking about at fuzzygoatyarns.com. I'm going to talk about my black thorn sweater, which I finished last week. If this week, if you're our email reader, you would have seen a picture of it. It's nice and big and slouchy, which is just the way I wanted it to be. Oops, sat down on my pillow. Oh, by the way, I love these pillows, and this is my new favorite one right here. Happy Camper. So I'm just really thrilled with how it turned out. So I'm going to talk about some yarns and some tips and some tools, and then of course my next project. So Melissa picked out some different yarns. So I used Madeline Tosh Twist Light in this sweater, and it's a fingering weight sweater. And if you want to make one like that, right now in stock we have, you can even go the opposite way and use 3 of the cardinal and 1 of the salt up here with the fingering. So that would be really pretty. Organize myself here, which means I'm not going to stay organized for long. This would also be lovely. This Madeline Tosh Twist Superb, which is this really lovely brown, and with the salt in there. And there's lots of examples in Ravelry of sweaters that are done the opposite way, the dark with the light on the top. And it would be super pretty in this Northwood Fibers with the blue. And then this is Weaver. So the blue is called Deep Sea Diving, and then Weaver as the color work. That would be exquisite. Melissa has such good taste. You could also do Deep Sea Diving and pair it with Beach Party in there too. So those are just some of the fingerings that we have. We have lots more, so we're happy to help you out with that. But then also, part of the reason we got the Sandnes garn in, these sweet yarns here, these Norwegian yarns, is they're $9 each, and I thought you'd be interested. Melissa did the math for us. You could use this the Sandnes garn, which is a beautiful 100% Norwegian wool. Wanted to make sure that it was indeed 100%, but that is, I'm sorry, it is 80% wool, 20% nylon. That's why I was checking. And this has some nylon in it too, and I like that because it makes it a little bouncy in there. You could make a sweater in size 3. Mine's a size 2. It's got a lot of ease in it for $81 using the Sandnes garn. So we love that we brought this in so that we can have a variety of different price points. So while you're knitting away on your luxurious silk blend, you may also want to make one in the Sandnes garn in a big sweater, because we realize this is a bigger sweater. So I used, for my size, I used 3 skeins of the cream and 1 of the red. And so sometimes some of us can get by with a few less skeins in our typical size, but because it's such a large sweater, we wanted you to know that you could also use this. And Marcia, if I'm just going to pretend I'm in the foggy Pacific Northwest wearing this sweater right now. I don't know if I'll be able to wear it in here all day long. I am in charge. We are all in charge of our air conditioning here, so I may be able to get by all day, especially if it rains. It'll feel nice and cozy. But I just love my sweater. So a few tips that I have for you guys. Again, I put this in the email, but I like to recap it here and kind of talk about it, because maybe you didn't read that part of it, or you just haven't gotten to it yet. Because I used a red yarn, which is notorious for bleeding into adjacent colors, I soaked the red and the white together, and I rubbed them together once they were good and soaked, and I left them to dry all twisted up. And then when they were dried, I checked them out, and everybody's color stayed in their right lane. I still did not wet block this, which is my go-to way of blocking. I love how it just kind of evens everything out. But because it's red and I did not want this to run, I steamed it instead. And actually did it mostly in the body, because I did continental style down here, and I'll talk about that in just a second. because I knit that in Continental, which I used up here too, all throughout here, so it wouldn't be too tight. My Continental is a little looser. So I used the smaller needle size that they recommended and got gauge in doing it in Continental. And I'm trying to think. I'm not sure I did gauge for this one. I absolutely did it for the next one because there was not that many different sizes to choose from. And, you know, it's big and blousy. So I don't know that I was going to move to a different size one way or the other. So I don't think I did a gauge swatch for this one. But I was very pleased with the way that it was turning out with the size. So instead of a 4, I used a 3 because I'm looser that way. And that way it wouldn't be tight and pucker in my color work. But then what happens when I get down to the ribbing in here, my beautiful ribbing with this little cable on it, I used the same size, still a 3, not going down to a 2, but I did that in the English style, which is a little tighter. So that's how I adjusted for my needle sizes and things like that. So it's taken me a long time to be pleased with my Continental. My Continental is faster. My Continental gauge is not, I mean, my tension isn't as even as I like, but we're learning to love each other on that. It's all fine because I can knit more things. Other tips and little tools that I used, I would not dream of doing this sweater without highlighter tape. I'm working on my new sweater, which I'll show you in a moment, but because this had all that color work in there, I used highlighter tape to mark where I was in the pattern. And it's not because I read through it. I put the highlighter tape just above where I'm going. So like right now I'm on this row right across here. This blocks what's coming, and my knitting should look like this below. Also, big fan of stitch markers. Talking about staying in your lane. I want to know that if I am off, I don't want to find out when I'm at the end of the row. I want to know, you know, right inside these little lanes with my stitch markers. Some people think, oh, I'm so advanced, I don't need to use those. I don't want to I got too many things to knit. I'm putting those stitch markers in so I can keep moving. So I love my highlighter tape. I love my stitch markers. One tip is to use stitch markers that are not way too big for your needle, because you don't want to use too small ones, right? You want them to move. But if they're too big, you run the risk of knitting into your marker. You know, a lot of people who've never used markers say, well, am I going to knit into that marker? And the rule is, or how does it move? You know, the rule usually is no, but we actually have some evidence around here, and some of you know who I'm talking about, where you actually did knit into your marker, and then we had to get some wire cutters and cut it out. So, Robin, it was a little bit intimidating using a size 3, but it's really a size 4 because my gauge is just loose. I was also a little intimidated because it was a bigger sweater, more yardage. I thought, I'm never going to get this done. So I started way in advance, and, you know, look, it's September. I finished on September 1st, August 31st. I don't have plenty of time to wear it. All right, another technique, my sleeves. I like to use a 9-inch needle for my sleeves. No ladders, no double points. I know some of you are great at magic loop. I am not good at magic loop. So I love my 9-inch needles. Now, you've seen me use my needle keeper a lot. I've got it on my current project now. But when you're using this size needle, it's not going to fit into here. So for those, I switched over to my really happy little sunflower stitch stoppers. And I'm going to have the link to all of this in there. Yeah. So Mary Lou says she's knitted markers in already too. You know, we've just all done it. It's what I tell everybody who's ever done anything that they think is a huge thing. I'm like, you know, you're not the first person to do it, and you're not going to be the last either. You guys are all unique, but not in that way. What else have I got in here that I used? Oh, okay. So speaking of sleeves, when it came time to separate for the sleeves, I always had used just waste yarn. Waste yarn is perfectly fine, but this also saved me a lot of time. And this is, I'm going to open this up. This is a short You can use a long one, but it just kind of gets in your way. This is a short circular stitch holder. And so, and then it has this needle attached to one end, and you can use that to put your stitches on, and then you can knit right back off of it. Super handy. And so I had one of those on each sleeve when they were separated. And, and then as I was going through the body, I used my goat tubing to try it on, so I could put that on my needle, stretch out my sleeves, and try it on. So those are some of the tools that I found indispensable for knitting my black thorn, and I couldn't be happier with it. You'll probably be seeing a lot of it. But so like I said, we've got some beautiful Madeline Tosh and other fingering yarns, but we've also got some really lovely Sandnes garn, which would also, this just looks Norwegian, right? So you might want to use a Norwegian yarn for that. And here's a picture of the sweater in the pattern. So that's my black thorn story for now. My new project, right? Like the second, like right away, that same night. Let's say, you can see that I've decided not to do the red ribbing. As soon as I got to the end of this sleeve and I did the white, I'm like, yeah. And I appreciate all the comments on that. I definitely thought about for a while that the red would keep it cleaner, but you know what? If I'm going to get this dirty, I'm going to get this dirty too. So I probably just won't get it dirty. I'm here, I go home and put on different things, I call my intermediate clothing. My new project, see how I get organized here for my new project. My new project is, here's my new project. Isabell Kraemer's Elah. Isn't that just so, you can tell I just want fall, don't I? This just looks so scrumptious. I couldn't wait. And I knew that this Woolstok tweed was on the way. This beautiful squishy tweed, just scrumptious. I wish you could feel it. So I knew this was on the way, but then when I got focused on the pattern and looked at the gauge and all of that, I realized that this, though it's worsted, it's really an Aran. It's a thick worsted. That's what Aran refers to. And so for this sweater, I could have used a larger needle, but gone down a size. This has a lot, like this one, has a lot of ease in it, so it would have been fine. Robin's adopting my label of intermediate clothing. Sometimes I just go straight to the PJs. It depends on the kind of day. So I used, I could have gone with a bigger needle and a smaller size, and it would have been okay. It's because it's not a super fitted sweater. And I could have stuck with that. But I wanted to be truer to the pattern this time. But before I move on to what I'm going to use, I want to talk about this tweed just a little bit. Just look at that. Look at that. So we thought this shawl would be really great. I love the way that it's got pattern to it. It would hold up to the tweed and not lose the pattern in there. But then if you want to try color work with this tweed, look at that beautiful thing. Yeah. I think down here in the South, we probably may not wear this, but anybody north of Atlanta would love this in their wardrobe. Isn't that exquisite? That is the Islington Jumper, and I'm going to put the link up with this yarn here. And this one is Soft Focus here, the shawl. Because even though I'm in a sweater mood, doesn't mean everybody's in a sweater mood. You might enjoy doing the shawl. So you have we obviously have different colors. This one is River Rock, and I want to tell you what it is. It is 100% wool. It will felt if you want it to felt. Treat it nicely if you don't want it to felt. It is, it's actually 85% fine Highland wool and 15% little Donegal neps, which is the little tweedy things in there. Yep. But I just look at these colors. Aren't they exquisite? And if you're not sure what you want to dive into yet, we have this hat kit, and you can make 2 hats out of this kit. So one hat would have the blue at the edge and then the different colors, and then the other one would have, I'm sorry, would have the blue at the edge, and then be blue and gray striped, and the other one would have gray at the edge, and then be blue and gray striped. So, and this comes with 3 skeins of this tweed, but you could also get the pattern separately and get different ones. And I've also got some new faux pom-poms I ordered the other day while I was in my intermediate clothes for you guys that were a lot of fun. So this is just really great. Another pattern that I didn't bring over here, but I have, I'll have the link up to, is my friend Sarah Keller has a new pattern called Candle Wick Cowl, and 2 skeins of this would be really pretty in that, and I believe we're going to knit a sample up in that too. I'm looking around to see if I have it over here, but I don't. So this is the Woolstok. I have behind me my Woolstok Light, which is my Chauncey. You guys remember that? I made that last winter. And so that is Woolstok Light, and this is Woolstok Tweed. And the yarn that I am using now is the Woolstok Worsted, which is just, what I brought over now, we have lots of other colors, but I brought over the colors that we have sweater quantities of if you want to make the Elah, which is this. And let's see, here's my little bit so far, and I believe we have some of this color. I just have to finish unboxing it. This is what I have so far. Let's see, let me show it to you. It starts off with a provisional cast on. My favorite way of doing a provisional cast on is to crochet the chain and then knit into the little bumps on the back of that. That's my favorite way of doing it. I'm not sure you can see the lace pattern in there yet, but I'm going to be really pretty there. So this is going super fast because I'm going from a size 3 to a size 7. Again, adjust my needle size because this called for a 4 and my continental is loose, so I used a 3. I'm doing this continental, called for an 8, and I'm using a 7. So I'm really excited about how this is turning out, and it's just so squishy. I even did my little gauge swatch, though I will confess my gauge swatch, though long enough, wide enough, isn't really tall enough. But the gauge that I wanted to count was going across because it's top down, and I can always add stitches length, you know, if I need to in there. So this was the part, and I did my gauge swatch the same night I finished this. I got right into it. Did my gauge swatch, and I also washed and blocked it, and it's just so fluffy because your gauge does change. If you're going to do the swatch, you need to go all to the other end. Yeah. So Donna, right now I have 3 projects going at once. This is a needle keeper here that the points of my needles go into and holds them together. It is my preferred way. And then I use the little cute little stoppers when I have to use the sleeves on there. And my other 2 projects, so I've got that sweater going. I have a shawl I don't think I've shown you yet. And my 3rd project is still formulating in my head. I've picked up my yarn. I'm going to do a descent I'm doing a descent cardigan, but the cardigan that I want to do, I want to knit a fingering cardigan. They're easier for us to wear around here, but the cardigan for descent is a worsted. I'm not going to mess with that. I'm going to do the fingering, but there's a whole hack on how to do that as a cardigan, and you steek it. I've done steeking in a class under supervision, but I'm really excited about the other thing there. So that's what I'm gonna be working on. So that'll be a story, the whole process, once I start diving into there. So right now I've got the shawl that kind of keeps me going when I'm in between, and I've got the Elah sweater. So I've not reached my capacity yet for all the different ones. Let's see, I think that there was a question here about the colors, names of the burgundy and the pink in here. The burgundy is called Plum Brandy, And this one I bet is cactus flower. The dyers like to use that, cactus flower. That would be really pretty in a sweater. Yes. All right, I will go put links up. I'm so glad you watched and stuck with me. It was a little bit of a rocky start this morning. My morning was rocky before I even got in here. We usually, Mr. Fuzzy Goat and I usually go down to Monticello and have, like, we call it our little mini vacation. We get up early, we drive down there, we get a muffin and we drive back and we listen to podcasts. And we have a whole process of when we get there, we're the first ones there. But today, even though we were early, we were not the first ones there. And there was about 15 people in line. I don't know what happened. Anyway, so I was a little nervous about getting here. And then all the other parts didn't want to work out with the internet here for some reason. So I moved my spot. We got it all worked out. You guys stuck with me. I really appreciate all of you. I'm going to go put the links up for all this beautiful, squishy stuff that we've got going on. And we will be happy to serve you. Thank you.